All right, good evening, everyone. It is 6 o'clock. At this point, I will call the meeting to order. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag of the United States of America, republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, at this point, I will ask for a roll call.
Commissioner Settlemeyer.
Here.
Commissioner Cox.
Present.
Commissioner Riles.
Present.
Chair Robinson.
Present.
Commissioner LaGrasse.
Here.
Commissioner Win.
Here.
And Commissioner Ingman.
Here.
Next up, we have the approval of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? Do I hear any motions?
So moved. To approve, move to approve.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We
All
need a
those-
second.
Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Before we do business from the public, I'd just like to quickly say a few words. Sorry I missed the last meeting. I am happy to be back. And I want everyone here to know that we have probably one of the most skilled and experienced commissions that we've had in a long time. And that's saying a lot because we've had some talented and experienced commissioners. And I appreciate the input from all of you. And I want to make sure that if anyone feels unheard or if they feel like they're experiencing unequal deference from myself or anyone else, please come see me before, after, during a meeting, and let me know how I can help facilitate. And I want to make sure that everyone here gets equal and full say, and I want to make sure that everyone here is heard. So if there is any issue with that, please come see me. That's part of my responsibility. All right, moving on to business from the public. Thank you. Lisa from the Albany Downtown Association.
Thank you. Lisa Grotto, Executive Director, Albany Downtown Association, with a quick downtown update. We had a wonderful turnout for our Crazy Days event. I want to let you know how excited we are that the Monteith River Park is open and that people are finally able to enjoy that. We have our Movies by Moonlight. It's going to be held on the back of the Eagles building again this year due to logistics at the park. It's not functional this year because we weren't able to get ahead of it. So we'll look into that for next year. But there'll just be the one on August 2nd. And we invite you to bring your honey and act like a dancing queen at Mamma Mia. And we're excited to see that one of the high schools is doing a production the following week. So we'll be able to get people excited, and then you can go down there and see some live content with our local talent. Our Meet the Neighbors is kids' summer fun, so lots of things for kids to do. Our volunteer spotlight is Beth Walker, amazing volunteer that's been with us forever. Lots of events going on, Monteith House activities. There's a new play at ACT that opens on July 19th called Spring Awakening. And of course, there's always First Friday. Our tickets are on sale for our Craft Brew Smackdown. That's going to be held on Friday, August 2nd, same night as the movie, so you can go from one to the other and stop in between at the after party at the Squeaky Cork. May recall Craft Brew Smackdown. It's been around for about 10 years. It took a break and is now transferred primarily as a downtown association event with Rotary as a partner instead of kind of the flip-flop. So we're excited to have taken that on. And also wanted to thank the Giving a Hoot team for coming down and doing a downtown cleanup along with some of our volunteers from our design committee. That was on Saturday. So the big thing is the historic home tour, and Kim Jackson and the whole team at Visitor Association asked me to share this evening. So that's set for Saturday, July 27th, from 11 to 5 p.m. It's the 45th summer tour of homes. So that's pretty exciting. The trolley will be out there. The horse-drawn wagons will be back. And that makes stops at the Albany Region Museum, the Monteith House Museum, and then some of the historic churches, and of course, some wonderful homes. There's some refreshments along the way. Admission is still only $15, and tickets can be purchased online at monteithhouse.org and albanyvisitors.com. That's albanyvisitors.com. The tickets went on sale July 1st, and they continue through the 26th. And so lots of fun there. I have copies of the newsletter for you after, and I also brought some posters, so if anyone has a place where they might want to share one of these, we invite the audience and the commission to help us celebrate and bringing people to the historic home tour and to downtown. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We have no one else signed up. Do we have anyone online that I can't see? Great. All right. At this point, we will move on to our quasi-judicial public hearing. Next on the agenda is a quasi-judicial public hearing regarding planning file HI-10-24, an application for reconstruction of a porch and stairs on a non-contributing home located at 925 Walnut Street Southwest. Have all commissioners received a copy of the agenda packet materials, and are you all familiar with them?
Yes. Yes.
I call to order this quasi-judicial public hearing at 6:06 p.m. If you wish to testify, there were 3 options available which were described on the commission agenda. Do any members wish to declare a conflict of interest?
No.
Do any members wish to report any ex parte contact?
So full disclosure, it was posted as a question on one of the Albany Facebook pages about finding photos of this house, which I did respond a link to the Bob Potts photo collection. I did not talk about the application of this with the applicant, and my decision here tonight is based solely on the facts presented here tonight and the Albany Development Code.
Thank you, Cameron. Do any members wish to report a site visit?
Yes, just walked by.
Same here.
Same here.
As did I.
No.
Do any members wish to abstain from participating in the proceedings? Does anyone wish to challenge the participation of any commission member in this hearing and decision? If attending virtually, please turn on your camera and raise your hand to be called upon. Or if you are attending by phone, please unmute yourself and state your name so you can be called upon. At this time, I call for a reading of the meeting procedures.
Good evening. For those wishing to testify, please be aware that you must raise an issue with enough detail to afford the commission and parties an opportunity to respond to the issue if you later want to raise that issue on appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals. Testimony and evidence must be directed towards the approval standards staff will describe or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or development code which you believe to apply to the decision. If additional documents or evidence are provided by any party, the commission may allow a continuance or leave the record open to allow the parties a reasonable opportunity to respond. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with enough detail to allow the local government or its designee to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court.
At this time, I call for the staff report.
Great. Good evening, Commissioners. Alyssa Schrems for the City of Albany. So this is HI 10-24, a historic review of new construction. This is a type 3 quasi-judicial meeting. Notice was mailed 21 days ago. The public hearing is today, and you have the ability to make a decision today. So this one's going to be a little different than normal. As you may know, the house is actually standing, which means normally it wouldn't qualify for new construction. If you looked in your packet, there was a background information about the determination that the director made. This house, when the 2008 expansion of the Monteith district went through, was inventoried as irreversible lack of integrity, which we would consider kind of like a non-contributing, non-historic designation. And so with them wanting to adjust the porch, which is a fairly big change on a front facade, we determined that doing a review for new construction, which is a lower bar to clear than historic review of exterior alterations, was probably the best direction to go in because it assures compatibility with that general lack of information we have regarding what it would have looked like traditionally. There's some inferences we can make, but ultimately there's no real information in the record that we have. So we felt that compatibility was the best direction we had. You are free to make a different determination. I mean, we can go down the route of exterior alterations, but kind of based on weighing what we had with the irretrievable lack of integrity, staff and the director kind of felt that doing new construction criteria would produce kind of a better result and would be something that was kind of more supportive of a good outcome. So with that, this is the house here. This image is from 2022. If you were to go by recently for a site visit, it doesn't look like this anymore. It is located at 925 Walnut Street Southwest. And the applicant provided an image of a different house with a similar looking porch that they wanted to replicate. This was at 116 Cleveland Avenue Southeast. So they indicated that this general design is one that they are looking to replicate in some form or fashion. I believe the corner posts and things like that are mainly the inspiration for design. And so the review criteria you'll use is the new construction within the Monteith and Hackelman district criteria, which is ADC 7.2701. So we have three options. We have option 1, approve the request as proposed. Option 2, approve the request with conditions of approval, or option 3, deny the request. Staff recommends option 2, approve the request with conditions of approval. And I'm positive this time the final historic inspection made it in as a condition. Does anybody have any questions for me at this time?
I do.
Okay.
I'm still a little bit confused about using new construction versus alterations. Since this is an alteration, 7.100 says reviews required for exterior alterations or additions to buildings or structures defined as historic contributing or historic non-contributing within the historic districts. This one is actually classified as historic contributing if you look at SHPO or the National Park Service Register on it.
The documentation we had seemed to indicate it was non-historic, non-contributing due to the irretrievable lack of integrity. It's the same designation we had with the Greyhound Tavern building, where they technically, yes, were built during a time when they would have been historic, but due to changes that had happened afterward, they'd lost all evidence of historic integrity. And it was also the same we had for the Wells Fargo building before it was torn down.
Yeah, I know this was a little bit confusing because the 2002 survey, which was in the packet, shows that. But if you go to the SHPO website and look and get the document there, it also checks reversibly or partially eligible.
Okay.
So it looks, it appears to me what happened was it was declared irreversible in 2002 survey, but then when they actually did the 2008 survey update for inclusion for the Monteith edition, according to the SHPO website, it shows it's potentially eligible, and it is listed as contributing in the National Historic District.
Okay, well, that is good to know because the records that I had access to in our city archives said it was just the 2 pages that were included in your packet, the irretrievable lack of integrity. So if that is the case, then that's just something I did not have access to at the time, and I didn't think to look on the SHPO website.
Okay, yeah, because it's actually listed in our local historic inventory as contributing as well on that page. So it's a little bit of confusion there, but to me, it would seem like the exterior alteration review would be more applicable in this case.
Yeah, I would say that based on the evidence that I had available to me, which are the 2 pages that were provided to you in the staff report, we made our determination based on that. Like I said, I was under the impression that was all the documentation we had. I did not think to look at the SHPA website because I assumed that as the local jurisdiction, we had the best information out there. So that's basically why we went with the direction we went
Okay.
in.
Thanks.
I have a question.
Okay.
Were there or will there be plans submitted? There's not a lot of detail. It seems pretty sparse on what's going to happen here. In order for you guys to make your decision outside of our purview, it would be helpful, I think, on our part to see more detail on exactly what's proposed. Are you guys going to receive that or require that at any point?
I would encourage us to request a final submitted plan. I did request some additional information. This is what the applicant provided. We can ask for further details during the public portion of the meeting. Perhaps there are plans that have been drawn up that didn't get sent our way. I believe the building department would, in the end, require plans to be drawn up. So yes, I would encourage us to make it a condition of approval that you do get plans. We can theoretically ask that they be brought back to avoid some of the situations we've had in the past, in which case we could call this a tentative approval, something like that. We can work through those details if you go towards approval. But yes, I would recommend that we get plans.
Are there any other further questions for staff? Not seeing anybody. Okay, at this time, we will now take testimony from the applicant. Would the applicant please state your name, address, and make any comments that you have for the commission?
Good evening. My name is Leanne Stevens. Thank you all for being here tonight. I know this isn't what people want to be doing on Wednesday nights, but I appreciate you being here and helping me out with this project. I love old houses. This is the second one that I've redone in town. I appreciate your input so that these projects can be done well and maintain their integrity. What I'm trying to do is to return this home to what it was when it was built. That's my desire. And I know that the front facade was absolutely not how this house was built originally. I just want to return it to what it looked like originally. So my contractor is a fabulous contractor. I'm not sure that we're going to be able to supply you plans until we can take some of the siding off of the front of this house to find out where the structure leads us. We know from the seams up the front where it's been patched and into the sill right underneath the window, we know that all of that is patchwork. And that window this was probably done in the 40s before we had a landmarks commission. So I'm just trying to put this house back to what it was before. So like I said, I'm not sure we're going to be able to provide a rebuild plan until we know what's under there. Is there anything else I can tell you? Oh, I do have a couple of things I should mention. If you can see on the picture here, on the far left, you got the same packet that I have here. On the far left, I just bought this house in May. There used to be stairs that came out the left side of that porch. Those stairs were torn off prior to me buying this house. My contractor had to put up a temporary set of stairs that with the correct stair spacing actually impede parking a car in the driveway. So that's really not an option to put stairs that are to code off to the left, like where they used to be. The other set of stairs, it comes into the back of the house where the laundry room is, and those stairs are absolutely not to code. They are what was built back in the day. They're very steep, the tread is not deep, and they're dangerous. So it makes sense to me to restore the stairs to the front of the house as they were supposed to be, as they looked in the past. It just makes way more sense than to monkey around with those other two sets of stairs. So anyway.
So at this point, if you're done with the first round of input, we'll ask if any of the commissioners have questions of the applicant.
Yeah, I have a couple questions, but I'll just start with one. First, I want to thank you for taking on a project like this. And I really appreciate the sentiment of wanting to return the home back to, what its original character. The application that we have says that you are proposing to reinstall the stairs on the front porch.
Just the stairs. We're not redoing the porch. We're just reinstalling the stairs.
What kind of material are you proposing to use? Wood?
Wood.
Okay. I'll hold the.
It looks to me like the porch, there was originally an open porch and it has been enclosed. Are you intending to open the porch back up?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
you're removing the window
We're
entirely.
removing that window.
Okay, so that's not clear in your application. So I was kind of like, oh,
This is
where
my
do the stairs
first
go?
time.
Into the glass?
Yeah, we would like to, yeah.
Okay, so, and your proposal would put, there is some kind of column on the left side of the porch, and you're proposing to replicate that on the right?
We don't know if there was a column. There's a
No,
column on
we
the left
don't.
side here. There's one here.
Right.
There's a column. That will
Correct, yeah.
stay.
Uh-huh.
But I don't think that there was another column across the front of this house. We don't know until
I
we
know
get in
you're
there.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
You may find there's an imitation of a pillar on the right side.
Possibly,
Yeah,
possibly.
So, yeah.
Treasure hunt.
Okay, you're right. Thank you.
Rain, did you have something?
Already covered.
So, kind of talking about the column or pillar a little bit more, you would base the decision on whether to add a pillar if there was evidence to show that there was one there originally, correct? Because my gut feel is the same, that it was just open. There wasn't any other pillars there.
Right.
Sort of like the example you give at 119, even though that one's not an insert porch, that one doesn't have the extra column right there.
Right. I did find another house that is on the corner of 12th. Actually, it's not on the corner. I think it's one in 12th and Elm. It has a very similar front facade to this house, but I didn't have to, I just saw that place today. I didn't have time to go make copies of that to hand out. So if there's evidence of a pillar, we'll put another pillar in there.
Okay.
If there's not, we'll leave it open as it is. We want an open porch.
And then you're at this point kind of assuming the stairs would go in the center of the porch. And that's probably based on the sidewalk location in the front. And then you mentioned kind of the evidence in the siding.
Right, it's real clear that where they patched where the stairs were on the siding. It's real clear.
Yeah, which that surprises me a little bit, just because I want to say usually they line the stairs up with the front door, which would be on kind of towards the right in the photo. Like my house from 1905 is an insert porch, and the stairs to it line up with the door, so you don't have to make a curve if you curve around. If you're carrying anything up the stairs, you just go right up the front door.
It is odd, but those stairs would be centered on the porch, on the open porch. They
Right.
would be centered on that. There are two doors in here. So there's a front door, and
And one
then
on the side.
immediately to the right,
Okay.
there's another, I guess that's a guest door back
Mhm.
in the day. People would invite, guests would come in a different door
Mhm.
than your main door. So there are actually two doors. So,
And then one more question. You said you thought the porch was maybe enclosed sometime in the 40s.
mhm.
Do you have any idea of a date? Like, would that be pre-1945, post-1945?
It's just what, I don't have a date on it, but Larry Preston stopped by today. You know him?
Yes.
And he said back in the 40s that people were moving here from the south and they had a bug problem in the south. So they would move to Albany thinking they were going to have a bug problem, and they'd enclose their porches so they wouldn't have a bug problem, not knowing they didn't need to enclose their porch because we don't have a bug problem.
Mhm.
So again, that was today
Right.
that he dropped by. So not being able to have time to fact check. I don't know how accurate that is.
Okay. Thank you.
So the only picture the oldest picture I could find of this home was 1980. And it was virtually the same
Right.
look to it.
Sorry, any other commissioners? I have maybe a quick question or a couple questions.
Sure.
If you could just briefly, I know it's difficult at this stage in the game, but knowing what you do know,
Mhm.
how do you envision? So we're going to roughly put the stairs back in the position centered on the porch where it appears they were.
Mhm.
On the side where the existing stairs were, that is impeding on the driveway,
Mhm.
we're going to continue a wall similar height
Yes.
around
Yes,
and
the pony wall.
the pony wall.
Yes,
And we're going to just replicate basically what's on the front of the porch.
yes.
Got it. And we're opening it up. Any other changes envisioned or anything you could walk us through to give us more
The
detail?
glass window is coming out. Right now, there's a screen door on the left side that's going. There won't be a need for it because we're going to rebuild the pony wall.
Got it.
That's it.
Any other questions from commissioners? All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We may need to
Did I
talk to you
go
again.
sit
but-
down
Yes,
over here
please.
now?
Yes, please. But don't go anywhere. You're not off the hook yet. All right. We will now be taking public testimony. I will now call upon those who registered to speak during the meeting. And nothing online? I know I don't always see everything from here, so I don't want to skip anyone. Okay, very good. Got it?
He's on mute. Looks like no.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Let me just go through this blurb. I know I kind of covered it right there, but if you're attending virtually, please turn on your camera, raise your hand to be called upon by the chair and unmuted. Or if you're attending by phone, please unmute yourself and state your name so the chair can call on you to speak. I guess I got ahead of myself. We'll give it just a couple beats. All right. Normally I'd ask you if there's any rebuttal, but we haven't had any other testimony. Does any staff member wish to respond to any testimony presented?
No further information at this time.
Does anyone have any procedural questions they would like to raise at this time? All right. I declare this public hearing closed at 6:29 p.m. Does the commission wish to deliberate?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Where would we like to start? Let's, just for the sake of making it flow nice, Richard, can we start with you and work our way around?
Okay. I wish there was more to this. And I can appreciate why there might not be more to it right away because you have investigations to do. But I think that this is something that my sense is we need to postpone a decision until we have some kind of outline of what's really planned here. It's too vague. And that's it. Thank you.
Mason?
It's a tough one. So since this is under the category of review of new construction, I think that makes our job a little different. You know, I obviously would, I mean, there are a lot of questions I have about the stairs. You know, I think that there's going to be a railing to the stairs, but what will that railing look like? What is the style of these stairs? I know I read in the application that the intent is to mimic the Craftsman style, and I believe that that's what's going to occur, and so therefore I find that first box, the development maintains an underlying development pattern, is satisfied. The structure is of similar scale and size to surrounding buildings. Again, it is without a diagram, I can understand that it would be difficult to make a decision there. I think that with the evidence put forward with 116 Cleveland Southeast and the applicant saying that they are intending on kind of mimicking that in terms of the structure and size. Also, I'm thinking of the property that is perpendicular to the one in the application. It's the one on the corner of, sorry, these packets are, it's the one that's on the corner of Walnut Street and 9th Street. Their front door isn't even actually on 9th Street. Their front door is on Walnut Street, and that front door is not centered. It is a side front door. And so I find that the applicant does maintain a similar size and scale. And lastly, looking at building materials are reflective of and complementary to existing buildings within the district. I asked what the material was going to be, and I heard wood. And I heard that this was going to be done in a Craftsman style, so therefore I find that the building material is reflective of and complementary to existing buildings within the district. This is based on evidence put forth in the applicant's testimony, as well as that which I received in the application.
So, looking at the Sanborn maps from 25 and 49, it both of them show an insert porch. It actually hasn't changed between those two. And that's kind of consistent with the photos. It looks like there was an insert porch and it was enclosed probably sometime in the 40s. Don't know where exactly the stairs were on the front, but I'm pretty sure that there were stairs coming out the front when the house was originally built. I guess I struggle on a couple areas. The first being, to me, it seems like it should be reviewed under exterior alterations, not new construction. And as such, I'm a little bit concerned about 7.160, section 4. Most properties change over time. Those changes that have acquired historic significance in their own right shall be retained and preserved. We don't know for sure if it was enclosed before or after 1945. It was enclosed before 1945. That would have historic significance in its own, in particular, as part of the story just mentioned here tonight. We had a lot of influx of people moving to Albany during World War II with Camp Adair, with the Bureau of Mines going in. And so that could actually be part of the significant story of this house, is it shows part of that influx during the war years of Albany. And so the glass in the front, the enclosing of the porch, would have its own historic significance and would actually be a contributing part of this house. And beyond that, you know, as far as if the modifications were approved, it's like, well, we don't really know what we're approving yet without more info, which I also have a struggle with, just kind of approving blindly, because that's come back to bite us in the past on other projects. So that's kind of where my head's at the moment.
So for me, I understand what you're saying 100%, and there is some confusion about contributing, non-contributing, eligibility, that sort of thing. I get that 100%. Personally, I have no problem evaluating this as new construction and basing my evaluation on the compatibility. Obviously, this is a house that has undergone several phases of changes during its lifespan. And what I'm understanding from the applicant is there's an attempt to bring it back closer to original than its current state. So I have no problem evaluating it on the compatibility, but for me, I need a little more detail, which is difficult to ask. Plans aren't free and they don't happen like that. I'm well aware of that, having struggled with that on my own projects. I don't think that I can make a decision until I have more detail on this project. Not because I think the applicant has any malicious intent or is trying to get anything by, but as you said, Cameron, we have made decisions in the past as a commission, and we were in one headspace, and the applicant was in a different spot than we were, just because we weren't looking at the same picture and we weren't imagining the same things. So I need some more detail. Bill?
I'm not sure what I think yet. I'm going to pass.
I think it seems pretty simple. Taking out the window, putting the stairway back in, making it look a lot like 116 Cleveland Street with an opening and a pony wall. It doesn't look like it's going to be a rocket science here. It seems they can use the same materials that are already currently on the house. That's not hard to find. It might take a little digging, but you can find those materials. You can reuse what's there. Where the stairs are, you can take that material, use it for the outside of the pony wall on the side. Find some matching and make it. You can see that there's a sidewalk right up to that spot. So to me, I would like to see a wrought iron stair rail so that it matches a lot of the other homes in the area with their stair rails. Wooden steps painted to match the house would be a condition to me. I don't, with the absence of any proof of the historic alterations and when they happened, I don't think that we can deny it based on that.
Well, I didn't have an issue with it until information came forward that it might be contributing. Can we clarify that? I mean, to me, it makes a difference if it's a contributing structure, if it's significant or not. If it's not significant, then I agree that we have enough information probably that the alterations that have been discussed would not adversely affect the district as a whole. But are we sure of what the status is of this individual resource? And if we're not, how to,
So can I answer your question?
Yeah.
So if you go to the National Park Service website and pull up the nomination form for the Monteith addition, which was the small section that was added to the Monteith Historic District, which this is part of, in the map there, it shows 925 Walnut as eligible contributing to the National Historic District. So that means it's listed as contributing to the historic district. If you go to SHPO's website, it says the same thing, that it's a contributor to the Monteith National Historic District. And then if you go to the Albany local inventory database that we have, it also shows it as contributing to the Monteith District. So all three of those sources agree that it's on a national register, contributing to the National Historic Register.
I've decided what I think. I agree with what Kathy and Rain said.
So if I could briefly, you guys let me know if you're okay with this. I would like just a brief poll on how many people are comfortable making the decision with the information provided, and then we can decide whether we proceed, and how many people are not. All those-
Before we do that, can we
Yes.
discuss some more?
Yes.
If we decide to make a decision based on exterior alterations of a contributing instead of new construction, I don't think the decision would be a whole lot different as far as the materials being used.
Sure. And for me, regardless of contributing, non-contributing, like I said, I am comfortable basing this decision on compatibility. But like I said, we have been stung in the past, so I would like to see even just a rudimentary. But I believe city will require some plans, not for us, but for this project to progress. I would like to review those as we typically would. This is, we are always finding new ways for it to be complex. And this is one of these phase issues where it's in a certain phase of the project. They're not quite there yet. But I can't quite be there until I can see those plans. And again, it's nothing against the applicant. I love the intent of what you want to do, but I wouldn't really know what exactly I'm deciding upon until we just have a rudimentary sketch, drawing, just 2 elevations, and proceeding from there.
So are they able to take apart the project, the porch, and look and then come to us and tell us what they plan? Is that okay?
Yeah, I would think so. The city's not going to stand in the way of that, no?
Yep, they're totally fine. It's just when they put it back together.
Sure. Kathy?
Yeah, so what I said was that if it's actually non-contributing, I agree we have enough information. But with that question still open, I think we probably need a little bit more information. If there's a chance that it's a contributing resource and if it contributes to the significance of the district, then I think we need to have a little bit more upfront.
So if I could ask staff, can you sort of help us understand the difference between us denying, and that's a strong term, that doesn't mean we're saying you can't do this. It just means we're not making a decision and approving it blanket right now. A difference between denying or approving with conditions that we review the plans at a later point.
I think you have a third option, which is a continuance. I would likely, based on the feedback I'm getting, recommend a continuance. So the big thing with denial is that's kind of game over. It's done. You pay another fee, you come back. We have to do the public notice again, which is usually what causes the time difference between submittal and getting to a hearing. So that is one consideration. That's typically why we don't necessarily recommend going full denial unless you just absolutely don't want to approve the project. A continuance gives us the ability to do a date certain. If the applicant thinks they could bring us something back by the first week of September, that's something we could do. They have to submit something to you 7 days before the hearing, so it goes out with the agenda packet. And then the other option would be approval with the condition to bring it back. I don't think we've done it before. I mean, I theoretically think you could, but what happens if the design that gets brought back is one that you do not approve?
Sure.
Then we kind of enter another public hearing territory.
So the continuance would have to carry to the next meeting and it cannot carry past that.
It can, It can
believe-
carry to a date certain.
Yeah, to a date certain. So like if this was brought back in September, Wednesday, September 4th of 2024 is your September meeting. And so we would not need to re-advertise this if we wanted to suggest a continuation to that date.
And for me, and I think probably for other commissioners, I don't want you to have to pay another fee, and I don't want you guys to have to go through the work of renoticing. So leaving it open is preferable to me. At this point, I would like to reopen the hearing and talk to the applicant about that. Are we in accord on that as a commission?
Does it have to be September? Can it not be August?
Well, it could be, but one of the things I want to ask her is about her
Okay.
timeline and what
Thank
she feels she could accomplish in that time. So if that is okay with the
I
commission.
think you might need a second on reopening.
Yeah. All right. At this point, 6:45, I will
Are
reopen.
we
the-
going to vote on it?
Oh,
Do we have to vote?
we have to vote.
I
to
think you
reopen?
should.
Okay, let's vote. All those in favor of reopening the hearing?
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed, same sign.
Aye.
We will reopen at 6:45. If you could approach Ian, yes, please. So, do you feel, you've heard kind of what we're asking for and what we're looking for. Obviously, it's going to require some deconstruction of the porch and then whatever you're going to have to draw for the city anyway. I just don't know if that's going to fall in the time frame for you. Do you feel that's something that you could accomplish by our August 7th meeting or by our meeting in September? I don't know the date off
The
the top of my
4th, September
The
4th.
4th of September?
August.
August?
Yeah.
Okay. And,
It would actually be July because you need it 7 days before the hearing.
to submit
Yes.
Okay,
the paperwork.
okay, so it has to be when?
July 31st.
Which is two weeks from today.
Yeah, I think I can get it done by then. I think I can get it done.
Chad, can I ask a clarification?
Certainly.
Could you be specific about what drawings and details you're requesting her to provide?
Yeah, I would like to see the plans that you will submit to the building department. But more specifically, 2 elevations and a sketch of exactly how the reconstruction is going to go.
Okay.
So the building permit plans.
Yes.
Do you know what elevations he is referring to?
Do you know how the reconstruction is going to go?
No, not until we take it apart.
Okay. So that
That's
seems,
hard. I mean, can we take it apart? Can we look at it?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we can do that. So,
Yeah.
okay.
And
Well, I'd
that's why
be-
I'm wondering if the timeline works, because you'll,
Yeah.
No, wait a minute. How do we know she can take it apart?
because we asked the city and they
Okay.
gave us the thumbs up.
Well, but we have to be careful about taking those windows out until we know that they're outside the period of significance.
Well,
To be careful about taking them out. You don't want to
Because-
break them, you can put them back.
If you can remove them without damaging them and put them back in if necessary, that would be fine, yes.
and, well, I can't speak for everyone, but what I am hearing is largely the commission is in support of what you're going to do.
Great. That's great.
We are just personally, and I think from some of the other commissioners, not all, obviously, we are just looking for what you're going to do, not necessarily. Obviously, I understand what you're saying about the window. For me, it's not a concern. Can't speak for the other commissioners. Kathy?
I would be satisfied looking at sketches that have enough detail that then the building plans would be able to reflect it. But the risk there is that the building plans would be different. And if they don't match the sketches we review, then staff might have an issue with that. So in terms of the amount of detail, I personally would be okay with what the chairman said, the 2 elevations and some information, wood and, that kind of thing. But again, that's a risk. But if the building plans then don't reflect that, then might get slowed down.
If I may, Typically, when I'm reviewing building permits, I'm going for the essence of what was approved, not the exact measurement. Usually, like I'll use a recent example, we had a railing that came in where the detail of it, like clearly visually, was not the same as what we had approved. That's something that I would flag and ask for somebody to bring back. For this, if we're doing a sketch, it's like an artist's interpretation. If the building permit gives the same feel and the same details, not necessarily down to like a quarter of an inch or anything, but as long as it, by and large, doesn't have any major deviations, that would get approved. So if you would like, a sketch could be fine. The only main difference between that is with the building permits, you'll get exact measurements. The tread will be built or drawn exactly to scale to meet building code, things like that. But by and large, the essence is really what I'm going off of when I do building permits.
And that's what I'm looking for also.
Mhm.
We're really looking for the essence. We want to know, are we going to have railing on the stairs, or are we going to have walls? What are we going to see? What is the intended trim out? That sort of thing like that.
Okay.
We're not going to drill down too far on the details, and we're not going to get the scale out and check the measurements.
Okay.
And I really do. We are, I think all of us have been involved in these sorts of projects, so I'm making the best effort, and all of us are making the best effort to try and do this in a way that still works with your timeline and doesn't cause you to pay another fee and doesn't cause the city to renotice and all the time and money that goes with that on both sides.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree, Chad. I also agree with what Kathy said. A sketch is fine. I'm very aware, given what I do, how difficult it is to get contractors lined up and how hard it is, especially now with lack of quality contractors available. She's got someone lined up, they're ready to go. A week's delay can be pretty difficult. So I'm kind of with Kathy on this. It's like, let's get, if you can put together in the next week a little back of the napkin sketch, kind of delineating what the different elements are going to be, take a shot. You don't need to run out and hire an architect. I don't think it's that kind of project. So.
Yeah, not looking for approved plans or engineering or any of that, just
Okay.
sketch. And do you feel, have we been clear about what we want?
I think so. I
Okay.
think so. So there is a short railing that I believe is a handrail that goes up to the stairs that go into that laundry room. And we will probably mimic that style for the front.
If you're going to copy certain
Handrails.
elements, you could take pictures of them,
Okay,
include that and say, we're going to replicate this element
Okay.
in this location.
great.
I mean, we're just looking for sort of
What's it
something
gonna
that
look
you
like?
can easily provide that gives us a
Sure.
roadmap.
Sure, I can do that.
Absolutely. Do you have anything else for us? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And any public testimony to that? Anyone on the line, please unmute yourself, raise your hand, turn on your camera. Okay.
And then just for the record, we're continuing this to a date certain. It'll be August 7th.
Yes.
6 p.m.
Yeah, let me close the hearing down here. We don't have to do the rebuttal. Procedural questions at this point? Okay, I declare this public hearing closed again at 6:53. Commission, we can now deliberate. This time, let's start on that side of the room.
I'm satisfied and would be willing to make a motion to continue the item to the next meeting, August 7th at 6 p.m. with, to bring back the information as was discussed. I think the applicant understands. Yeah, so that would be the motion.
So, do I hear that motion?
Okay, I move to continue the item until the August 7th meeting at 6 p.m. with additional information as requested.
Do we have a second?
A second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Okay, very good. Moving on. Thank you very much to the applicant. Not trying to delay you, just trying to.
No, I understand completely.
Thank you very much. All right. Grant review. David, should we pause just a second so that Alyssa is. Why don't we have a 5-minute recess if we could? 6:55, see everyone back at 7.
Look at that one.
I didn't. I used to be on the river quite a bit, but. Okay, welcome back. We will now proceed to grant review.
So I'm going to abstain from this since I'm on the board of the Cumberland, and I'll rejoin after the decision's made.
Thank you, Cameron. Appreciate it.
All right.
Who leads this one? I was assuming you, but you were looking at me.
We're all just looking at each other.
Okay.
Okay. So it's been a while since we've done one of these. I haven't done one with the city. So we're maybe going to learn as we go. I think the best way to do this is I provided a guide scoring sheet. You may or may not have filled it out. I didn't really send any instructions. I'm figuring we'll tally them up. But I think that we should discuss all the applications, keeping in mind that I think both projects are requesting a budget larger than the money we have. So there's only some that we would be able to fund. And I just want everybody to keep that in mind. We're looking at about $8,000 for the grants that we have available. There could be more. We would just have to decrease how much we're doing with public engagement and other events for the community. But we certainly do not have, the amount that either applicant is requesting. And I did make them aware of that. It's just not a budget we have, but we are able to do some money. So my recommendation would be go around, kind of talk about the merits, and then maybe things that could be better in the applications, maybe areas of improvement, if you have any concerns, that sort of thing. And we'll kind of go from there. I'd say if anything scores less than, I think it's 15 points, I think 30 was our maximum, that probably wouldn't get the grant money. I think kind of ballpark something like that. And then also the grant is open. These are the first ones that came in, but there is an ability to get more. That is not to say that we have to have a second round, but there is the ability to, if that's the direction you guys want to go. Does anybody have any questions, any ideas about how to do this better? I'm also open to that.
I just want to clarify, there are only 2 applicants.
Yes, there's only
Okay.
2 applications at this time.
At this
I've talked to several other folks.
More can come in.
More can come
When
in.
do we make our final decision?
I would recommend that we close the window in September. So maybe have the September meeting be the last opportunity to review grants. My recommendation is because these have to go through the state to get approval from them saying that, yes, these projects meet kind of their criteria for giving money. And they have to sign agreements with the state and us. I think they have to do a Section 106 review. There's a lot of paperwork, basically. And then they have to absolutely have the project done by, I think, the middle of May, because I have to report really fast to the state. So that's basically why I recommend it. We have some pretty hard deadlines. And part of this is because it's a reimbursement grant. If they don't get work done in the timeline, they don't get the reimbursement.
And it's one $8,000 grant.
That's the pool of money we have.
Oh, so we can split it up into
Absolutely. Yeah. And what we did in the past is it sounds like a lot of small grants, like a lot of generally $2,000 grants to a number of individuals is what happened in the heyday. And we're just getting caught up. So yeah. Maybe Bill has some experience doing this and can maybe give us some advice.
Is there, just for clarity, are we just going to, on our own, go through this? Or are you going to give us a report on these applications, or?
I can do a back of the napkin report on them.
Well, let me ask, has everyone reviewed these? Okay. So, yeah, maybe just a brief back of the napkin for, let's go one by one is my preference.
All right, let me get the reports pulled up. I think the first one is going to be, I don't have the address in front of me, but they are mainly asking for foundation work and then painting after the foundation work is done. Okay, 934 Maple Street Southwest. So they did provide a number of photos in the packet. Do you mind if I just borrow this? So they say phase 1 is going to be their French drain project. They provided evidence that there is water infiltration in the house. So the French drain is intended to go around the house to kind of bring the water away. I believe I might have seen them mention possibly a sump pump if needed. Yes, installing a French drain with sump and sump pump. That is in the second paragraph of the French drain. Sealant to the concrete, piping to pump the water to street or garden beds. Newer paver patio where the existing patio concrete slab is. And then the second phase would be painting the western side and the southern deck area exterior walls. So generally with our projects, they're supposed to be visible from the public right-of-way. I think you can make an argument either way. For the foundation work, it is important to keep a structure up and running. It's possible that you could pair it with the painting, even though we generally don't review for painting. That would give us a very visible component. But that's kind of open for interpretation. So that's mainly what they're going for, is they've kind of paired this less visible foundation work with the high visibility of the painting.
So historically, I've been on a lot of these where we give away money. And if I were to sum it up, one of the things that we tended to do, was try to spread the money around. The other thing was to focus on things that would have the greatest visual impact, and also avoid things like that could be considered maintenance, so like roofing or painting. We never really gave money for those things before. Something like bringing back a window or fixing a porch railing or something that would have a high impact. That's typically how we did it. And that being said, we tried to spread the money as evenly around as we could.
And for full disclosure, I did kind of discuss at the counter with the applicant that this one could go either way. It may not be something that we would choose to fund. It may be. Ultimately, I was like, you should apply, because the answer is always no if you don't apply. So that's basically how that conversation went. I mean, the worst thing we would have is we open the grant and get no grants, right?
This is my first one, so I like the idea of us focusing on things that we might see in applications versus those things that we don't always look at. So I'm under the impression that paint isn't something that this commission usually considers. I like the approach of focusing on those things that we would potentially consider in a landmarks case, and steering away from maintenance stuff. I think that kind of, I don't know if it's the landmarks commission to, help with maintenance.
Sure. I don't know if everyone has had a chance to score it. I didn't know exactly how we were going to do it here tonight, so I have quickly scored it myself. I've divided it up for 934 Maple and then just one shot for the Cumberland. How would we like to proceed? Would we like to share our scores? Do we want to take a minute and score it individually and then share our scores? Do we want to?
I don't have a score sheet. I don't.
Oh, it's in the packet.
Why don't you tell us your scores?
Page 19. So for the Cumberland, I came out at 28. 934 Maple Phase 1. I came out just right at your threshold at 15. For Phase 2, 9.5 aspect of it. And for me, it's not necessarily, like, I'm not rejecting painting out of hand. It is a maintenance thing, but in some cases, it's good for the district. If someone has a need, it's good for the district, and paint preserves these structures. It is a vital part of it. We have to keep a good coat of paint on all of these. However, for this one, for me personally, it didn't hit the mark. The French drain, that can kill a structure. Water ingress, the foundation can start to settle and crack. Can be issues. So I see more need for that, and that is an expensive undertaking. I understand why someone would look for some assistance on that. And the Cumberland is kind of what they're asking for is very targeted and understandable for me. And I gave 7 for architectural integrity, 7 for the need, 7 for the neighborhood impact, and 7 for the historic significance. Those are just my numbers.
I agree. I didn't score it because it wasn't close for me.
I just did a quick scoring for myself, and I came up with 13 for the Cumberland and 5 for the Maple Street.
Which is great and hard. No wrong answer. Any other input?
Do I have to, let me,
You must share.
okay, let me,
No.
no, I haven't even computed the numbers yet.
While he's doing that, any deliberation about any of these projects?
I just have a question about the French drain. It's very expensive, and could we fund part of it? And
Yeah, we can choose.
would the applicant then have to complete the whole project in order to get the reimbursement? Yeah,
Yes.
okay, okay.
Yes.
So we could, all right.
And they have, as
And it has to be consistent.
Alyssa
with-
said,
right.
they'll have to pass
Yes.
a
SHPO
bar
and-
above us,
Right.
unfortunately.
The other question I had was if so there's $8,000, if we say allocate 4,000 approximately or something like that tonight, thinking there might be more applications. If no other applications come in, could we revisit?
Yeah, we have 2 more meetings where we could potentially see applications, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So again, off the top of my head, July 31st would be the date. I would mail it out. I typically tell people the Monday before is when I need to see things for agenda packets. So the 28th, we could receive something by then. And then following that, you would have the September meeting. And I would just, again, need it like, I guess it's 9 days in advance. So yeah, we have 2 more opportunities to review. There's definitely the ability, and we could theoretically call this one back. I can kind of contact them and see where they're at. I can ask them basically if we were to, award you like $2,000, $4,000 for your French drains, would you move forward with the project? If not, you would probably just not want to go that route. So I can do a temperature gauge with the applicant.
Why do we not wait until all the applications are at hand?
Because we set a rolling deadline.
Pardon me?
We set a rolling deadline
And why?
just to get them in. So the sooner we get them and approve them, the sooner we can send them to SHPO. So if we approve one tonight, I can get them started with the state.
I think that was our doing, and maybe in the future, maybe next year, we will choose to do it all in one shot. We can
This
see. on
seems
this-
very confusing to me.
Sure.
I'm bewildered.
We have more numbers?
And you really want the numbers.
I gotta have those numbers.
Cumberland got a 26 and isn't the Boyle House? I forget the name.
Yeah, I believe it is.
Yeah, the Boyle House. Okay, I was right. 17. So they both got, was the threshold 15?
I suggested a threshold of 15.
They
but-
passed Alyssa's threshold. I think one of those, at least according to my numbers, is ahead of the other one. But I'd like to see all of the applicants.
First?
Well,
Do we know
like
of
the
any other
idea.
applicants that are coming in? Are we waiting on something in particular?
I have talked to one person, and I'm not really sure where they are in getting an application in. But they've been interested for a while now. I let them know when the first one came out, and it's just kind of lining up contractors, getting bids and quotes. So that being said, though, I didn't talk to the folks that turned in the Boyle House basically until they saw the grant listing. So that one was fairly new. So there is the ability to get more that I just don't know about. But yeah, I do know of one other person that is hoping to turn in an application. I just can't promise that they will.
So from the numbers that we have discussed already, it sounds like we are prepared to offer a grant to the Cumberland.
Yes. I did numbers. I got 21 on that
Okay,
as well. And I got 16 on the French drain.
okay. So,
So in part of this equation, I know it seems, it's kind of funny because I have to check myself because I've been through these so many times and it's just obvious to me what's going on. But if you really look at it, it's not very obvious. You've got to put these grants in and they go to SHPO, and then there's a bit of politics there. I'm just going to say, no disrespect intended, but redoing a French drain is not going to tickle anyone's fancy at SHPO. And and the other thing, it seems to be this sort of funny sliding scale where the more we do this, SHPO starts allocating more members our way. For a while, we had a lot of momentum and we were getting a lot of money, and then we fell off doing it, and then the money kind of dries up. So there's an argument to be made that the Cumberland is a very visual project. It's something that SHPO has already supported. They understand. They're likely to give that a bonus. And time is of the essence. If a lot of other areas put in their grants and they get approved in order, we might be holding the last cup in line. So,
So I do want to clarify, all this money is coming out of our CLG grant. So we've been allocated about 16,000, and we self-imposed about an 8-8 split between the money that we're doing as a pass-through grant and then money we're doing for educations and workshops. So all we're asking SHPO to do is to concur that the projects meet their standards for funding. They've given us the money, so that part's set.
Okay.
If we want to give them, $8,000, we can give them $8,000, provided it meets the standards that SHPO has for what they fund with pass-through grants.
and I just realized the other thing we did previously is stipulate that the grant would not pay for more than 50% of a given item going in, because we wanted to make sure that people had, skin in the game. They weren't just, hey, do this for me, but we're doing this and the cost of it exceeds our maybe ability to do it. So we might not do it. So it was sort of that you put in 50, we'll put in 50 kind of thing. So I don't know if that's really.
Yep, we're doing 50% here. So all the numbers you're seeing, divide them in half, and that's the maximum you could allocate to them. And then from there, we just don't usually have enough to do even 50% of the project.
So I feel like we've got some low-hanging fruit. Do we have a motion on the 1674 for the Cumberland window project?
I move that we award the full 1674 to the Cumberland project.
Do I hear a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oh, we're getting some.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding the numbers we're doing here. So we're giving them 6,070.
No,
No.
1674.
The total grant request.
They requested 1674.
So we have 8,000 that were given for CLG money.
Yes.
Okay, so you're wanting to give them the full 8,000?
No.
The full amount they
16
requested of
1,600.
$1,600.
$1,674.
Okay. I struggle with numbers if they are not written down in front of me.
Okay.
Vote? Did we all vote?
I think we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alyssa really threw us a curve, though.
I heard them vote.
All right, so I think we have moved on from there. If we go to the Boyle House, 934 Maple, sounds like there's basically some continuity on how we scored it. Do we have any deliberation? Now, for me, just to restate, it did not hit the mark on the painting, phase 2.
Okay.
On phase 1, have any deliberation?
I'm not interested in granting any funds to this project.
Okay.
I'm leaning that way as well.
I am personally, for phase 1, I would be open to providing some. I do think that, especially in our climate, this is something that can kill a house. This is something that can go downhill quickly. If the soil becomes compromised, you start having big time issues, and those translate from the bottom all the way up to the top eventually. I would be, so on phase 2, just to clarify the amount requested, that's right, see attached. So phase 1, they were looking for 10,750. Personally, I would be willing to go 1,500. I think this is an important thing, but our resources are finite.
I totally respect where you're coming from on this. We just have never done something quite like that.
Sure.
There's any number of sort of maintenance issues, I don't know. I mean,
Do I hear another number or a motion, another direction?
I would support some amount on the French drain project. I agree that the water leaking into the home is very damaging, and it's only one of 2 applications that we've gotten so far. So I think if we could give them some amount with the option of them coming back if nobody else applies.
I agree with that.
1,500
Yeah,
seems reasonable to me.
And as we have heard and experienced ourselves, the applicant, which I'm not sure if they're here or I'm not.
They might be online.
You know, they may come back and say, hey, this item or this component of the house, we discovered an issue, and that they are encouraged to come back and try again if that is found. Do we hear a motion?
A quick question.
Yes.
Do we have to make a decision on this now, or can it be tabled until the next, when we can compare this to other, if there are other
Yeah,
applicants?
that's an idea. We can definitely table this and wait to see what else comes in.
Yep, you could table it. If you decide to do a tentative award, we could just keep the application on file and revisit it. This is a situation where we're really just making our own rules. There's nothing hard and fast. So if you wanted to, we could just wait on this application to kind of see what comes in.
I would support that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's a good idea to wait on it. But I do think that despite it's not being glamorous, that it is a worthwhile thing to contribute to.
I agree.
I hear a motion signal?
I move that we
Table discussion.
table discussion on this application until our August 7th meeting at 6 p.m.
Sure.
Second?
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Very good.
All right, so what I will do is I'll let Cumberland know we're giving them the 1674, which does not have an additional 0 like I thought it did. And we'll get the ball moving for them with SHPO so that we can hopefully get them through the process and get them working.
All right, this may be interesting and fun. Survey results.
Yeah, so it'll be a little interesting. We'll share the good news, the bad news, and all the warts that we all suffer from, I think. We're just getting this set up here real quick.
Oh, good.
Is it arrow right or arrow up or
I
down?
think it's
All right. Well, thank you for the opportunity to share these results. So we sent out the postcards that you see here on the slide. We sent those out to about 950 owners of historic properties in the city. And at the close of the survey, we got 93 responses for a return rate of just about 10%, which for this kind of thing is not that bad. And I have to say, with the data that we received was very balanced as far as, it wasn't, skewed one way or the other. So it's very telling, I think. So the first question was whether or not the person was an Albany resident. And so 89 of the 93 were residents. Other people might own houses, but they don't live in town. They might just rent those houses out. So anyway, almost 96% do live in Albany. And then the next question was, to what extent were they aware of historic preservation activities in the city on a scale of 1 to 10? Now, you'll see in the graph here that the scale actually goes from 0 to 100, but the concept here is still, it's a scalable kind of a thing. So there was a slider that people could move back and forth. And in this case, it looks like about 62 is the average number. So it's a little more than average, I think, is what we're seeing in that data. Do you see historic preservation as a worthwhile goal? And here we have 86% that did, and really only 4 persons that said that it was not a worthwhile goal. Okay, the fourth question is, what are your biggest concerns to the threat of preservation in Albany's historic and architectural resources? And survey respondents were given up to 3 choices from the list below. And so you'll see here that cost of maintenance is the highest by far, followed by owner neglect and indifference and development pressures. So I'll share a couple of comments as we go along here so that you have a sense of what people are saying about it. Bear with me a minute here. Okay, so in some of these slides, the people provided comments to further explain their answers. So what I did is I put down kind of a representative sample of what those comments were. So I'm going to read those comments pertaining to this slide right now. The first one says that the appearance of our historic neighborhoods is significantly degraded by the presence of dilapidated and unkempt properties. A second respondent said, there's about 40,000 square feet of space that could accommodate apartments. It's not possible to do this because the city's current policy on sprinkler systems. This makes it impossible to justify the upgrades needed to get apartments occupied. The permitting process is also onerous and expensive in Albany. And then the third comment said, overzealous historical society members more concerned about preservation of the look of a house than the function of a home. That's
Pointed.
Yeah, some of these are gonna, yeah, we all have a little of this egg on our face, I think. Okay, so the next slide is, what are the following strategies that would be most effective to promote and encourage historic preservation? And we asked to have them choose 2 on the list below. So historic preservation grants far outshined almost all of these other categories. And so that's good that we're resuming that program again. Also, development code revisions was a close second. That's something that all of this information will eventually be feeding into when we do our Article 7 updates. So some comments that we got, eliminate all historic regulations and let property owners fix up their properties. The second comment said the cost to restore is expensive. Having grants softens the price tag and it makes it more doable. And then third, if not already covered under historic preservation grants, provide money, investments, discounts, et cetera, for homeowners to do upgrades or restorations to enhance or maintain their homes. Okay.
David, can you go back? There's,
Sure.
It says make historic districts mow.
Yeah, let's see.
More what?
Sorry, just combobulated today. You know what? I'll have to look at the original and
It's
see.
not that big a deal. I'm just kind of curious. It's
Yeah.
got quite
It did get some back on that. So.
more understandable, or I mean, it would be just kind of interesting to see. Quite a few people picked that, so I don't know.
Good note and bring that back at our next meeting. So this question is, what are your top 3 issues to address in historic districts? And so basically the rules and regulations are not clear, compatibility of new construction, and then windows was another issue here. Interestingly, fences didn't score very high here. or expanding historic districts was not a real popular issue either. So some comments that we got there. Aesthetically, historical districts are wonderful and boost values and tourism when maintained. However, owning a historic home requires a certain income level and ability to adhere to requirements, which can be barriers for some lower groups of buyers. Another comment says, what you can and cannot do seems arbitrary and based on the historic committee's opinion. It doesn't seem to make sense that it's fine to let a house rot due to neglect, but I can't make repairs that are within my budget. And then a third comment was just being more work done on porches and handrails. So then the seventh question is, have you ever completed a project which was regulated by the city for historic preservation? And so about 44% of the respondents said that they have. And not sure why the people, 3% said unsure. Puzzles me. I don't know what that's about. Yeah. So I guess you could say that the responses were fairly evenly split. And if yes, was the historic review done in an efficient and timely manner? And so you'll see the bottom light blue bar is not applicable because those are all the people that didn't go through a review. So when you take that out, you see that yes, it's actually pretty substantial. It's definitely higher than no, so that was really good. I'd have some comments on that.
Take that as a win.
So some of the comments we got on that, 4 of them in particular that I put on the paper here, they said that landmarks was fine. The building department was problematic.
I agree.
And then somebody else says, our project was delayed a bit over a month because of the process. Some of that was public notice and public meeting law, which is hard to avoid. Another one said it took 3 months just to get the neighborhood review hearing, which I'm not familiar with a neighborhood review. Anyway, I'm thinking it's landmarks, but then all the contractors were busy, so it took 9 months to do a 2 to 3 month project. And then this one's brutally honest. We have had 3 cases. Our replacement of the 90-year-old windows with new wood windows was a breeze. Our solar panel application was ponderous, but the Planning Commission was extremely helpful. Our application for demolition of a decrepit outbuilding and construction of a new garage and ADU was just awful, took months to complete, and created a lot of ill will in our household. The Planning Commission was great. The all-volunteer Landmarks Commission, with their random, uninformed opinions and lack of understanding of National Park Service standards, were an annoying obstruction that added nothing useful to the process. Open public comment is already part of the process.
Whatever that is.
You know, it's
think I
hard
was
to
out
hear
there.
some of this, but it's kind of nice that some people are sort of brutally honest.
Yeah, that's what you want.
You know, and I remember that case, and I don't know that any of you were on the landmarks back when that one came through.
I was out there.
Oh, were you?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. The ninth question was, should some accessory structures like sheds, garages, and workshops be exempt from historic review? So the over half said that yes, they thought that it should be, but there's also a lot of people that were unsure. And I'll read a couple of the comments that we got. Maybe that'll help shed some light on what people were thinking. Somebody said, we need to focus on big wins to help us connect to our past. We should not get tied up with small structures and impede improvement of larger structures with more historic significance. Second person wrote, absolutely not. Everything in a historic district should be subject to review. The entire landscape contributes to a sense of place and time, not just the main houses. And then a third person says, well, it depends. It's good if accessory structures generally fit the house style and do not detract. In other cases, I think it doesn't really matter. Strict regulations and codes may make things like a garage cost way more than they should, to the extent that they are cost prohibitive and a huge headache to complete the process. Thus, something that would actually improve the property and make it more desirable is never done. Yeah, here's the historic district expansion question. Do you believe districts should be expanded? And so about 20% of the respondents said yes. And again, a whole bunch more thought they were unsure. And I think part of it is that maybe some of the respondents really they weren't part of maybe when the districts were formed or expanded at one time. And they just didn't feel like they had enough information to make a good call on it. So some comments there. If they are expanded, they need to be done so with the support of the property owners. The second respondent says, if we're going to expand the historical district, you need to make it easier on the homeowners to be able to maintain and take care of their homes and quit beating them with stupid regulations that are no use to anyone. And then a third one said, this would be good. Add more homes, protect and preserve more historic properties. All right. So one of the questions we asked is, how well do you believe the city's historic preservation regulations provide adequate protection for preserving designated historic properties? And it was more on the favorable side. It was about 58% out of 100. So that people seem to think that the regulations were definitely providing some protection. And then the next one, in your opinion, are there specific requirements of the development code and design guidelines that have repeatedly been the source of conflict for historic preservation efforts in the city? And the average number on this was 69. So there's definitely some strong feelings that development code and design guidelines were a real source of conflict. In your opinion, does the Landmarks Commission make decisions consistent with adopted regulations and best practices? And it was just over 50, 52. So,
Is that a passing grade?
yeah, it's probably something like a D. I'm not sure.
I think if we curve it, it's a passing grade.
Yeah, but here, do planning staff make decisions consistent with adopted regulations and best practices? Sorry, but we beat you. 56. Because that's all the stuff that all of you don't get to see. And that's the simple stuff. You get the harder cases. Okay, so if you look at the colors here, the green on top is symbolized as very important. The blue is somewhat important. The yellow is not important, and the light blue is not applicable, or they didn't respond. So this one's kind of a multi-part one. So as far as the focus on the updates, so here you'll see neglected properties rated very, very high here. And accessory structures was a little bit more somewhat important. Solar panels are kind of a mixed bag. Some thought it was important, a few thought that it really wasn't that important. But you'll see though that the yellow bars here, which symbolize not important, are growing as we go down further in this table. Expanding historic districts was not very popular. New historic districts wasn't very popular either.
I wonder why that is.
I don't know. I'm not sure if folks really
Because of the
know
first
what it
few
means.
questions in the survey. It costs too much. It's too much for people to work on their homes.
Yeah. They are, yep. Demolition by neglect was definitely important for a lot of folks, and then alternative materials was also very important.
Did the survey identify the owners that actually live in the home versus those that, other than that one question?
No, the only one question that we had on that is if they lived in Albany. So there could be some people that live in Albany but have another house in the historic district that they rent out, conceivably. But out of all of the respondents, only 4 indicated that they didn't live in the city. So another question we asked was, how should solar panels be regulated within the historic districts? And this one was also kind of a mixed bag. And I think the largest response was regulate only if the solar panels are clearly visible from the street. That got about 40% of the response right there. There is another 40 or 46% that said do not regulate solar panels under any circumstances. So some of the comments that we got concerning solar panels, the first one says, personal opinion is that solar panels should not be seen on the front of a historic house. It's an eyesore. Second one, I don't understand how energy efficient windows are not allowed, but solar panels are. Third, these are not permanent and do not alter the structure. They are not historic, but they're an important tool to fight climate change and reduce energy costs. And then fourth said, we are experiencing a climate crisis. If a homeowner or business wishes to add solar panels or otherwise alter their home or business to be more energy efficient, they should be allowed and encouraged to do so. This might be a really good one to kind of drill down on with our focus group meetings that we'll be talking about next month.
And the technology may change day after tomorrow.
Sure can. Okay, so then we asked, what resources do you rely on for news concerning historic preservation? And interestingly, word of mouth was the highest scoring. That's pretty impressive. Smaller. Yeah?
Smaller.
Yeah. Maybe. But you know, the thing is, folks that live in those historic districts, all of their neighbors also live in the historic district. And so I'm sure that there's a lot of cross communication that goes on. And then a city website was really high up on the list as well. So some comments we got on this is information needs to be paper mailed or emailed to us to be sure we see it. Social media is too scattered to be certain of delivery, and many avoid it for good reasons. The second person said that they rely on Friends of Historic Albany, Matt Harrington's Facebook posts at the city, and then the website. And then the third one, threats from city planning should I do anything they don't approve of. That and the frustration from contractors that refuse to work in the historic district.
Does the landmarks, we don't have our own social media, right? Like a Instagram. Alyssa, can you make an Instagram for the?
I would defer it to Matt Harrington. Let me assure you, he's much better at it than I am.
You disable the
You can
commenting.
practice your numbers.
Could practice my numbers. They'd be written down in front of me.
Okay, so the next question was just the opportunity for people to provide additional comments or explanation. And again, I want to reiterate that the comments that I'm receiving or reading to you, they're not all of the comments. I just picked some that seemed representative and presented those to you. So for instance, 24 people actually did provide comments on this question, but these are just 3 that I pulled out. People I have talked with in my neighborhood speak of the historic code and review as a nebulous program that creates unwanted expense and is best avoided. I personally have not had any one-on-one experience with anyone other than the building inspectors and the planning office. It would be nice to know where to get answers or meet the faces that seem to make the decisions. Another comment says, everyone I talk to in the Monteith district, where I live, often states the financial burden is a limiting factor for maintaining their homes at the level they desire. Bring back the matching grant programs for those of us working hard but unable to spend tens of thousands of dollars on our houses every year just to complete necessary maintenance projects. And then a third comment said, one of the biggest hurdles to preservation lies in the bureaucratic process that exists. Speaking from experience, it's very frustrating, time-consuming, and cost-prohibitive in many cases. This result here surprised me probably the most. We actually had 30 people of the 93 recipients that agree that they'd like to participate in a focus group. You know, I was expecting maybe 10%, if that, but there's a lot of interest in it, and it's really split almost evenly between those that do, those that aren't interested, or those that don't know. But anyway, I think that the focus group can be a really good format for people to really have the opportunity for more of a discussion. And I do hope, again, that besides staff, that at least one Landmarks member could be on each of the different focus groups that we start setting up. That's about all I have. Our next step here is going to be looking more closely at setting up the focus groups and refining the questions that we might want to ask. And so at our next meeting in August, I'd like to have a few minutes to chat with you about some of the preliminary focus group questions that we looked at a few months ago and whether or not we should add or delete or modify some of those. And then following that, we'll also do a citywide social media survey, which will be a more abbreviated version of this targeted survey right here.
Can you send those questions to us again so we can review them beforehand?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. And also, I will provide to you any of this information that you want. So I have my slideshow presentation with my notes on it. So if you want me to, I can email those to you. If you want to know more on the comment side, what are the other people saying, I can put that in a document and provide it to you as well. It might be useful. It just depends how much reading you want to do.
I would be open to that.
Okay. And if you don't want to, you don't have to, but at least if I send it to you, you can take a look and see if you're interested.
If you would like them, please email David. And what level of information you're looking for.
Do we know the levels?
I'll assume that it's everything on the survey, and unless, again, if you have it, you can read it. If you don't want to read it, that's okay.
You want every single comment? We can do it.
We can and we will do it.
Comment.
Okay, we'll do it, Rain.
Nosy like that.
It sounds like we need to work on some incentives for historic property owners.
Certainly.
Yeah, we need to make it more of a some beneficial opportunities. And I don't know what those might be.
The workshops and things like that.
Yeah, some free advice, some free stuff, some support, some tax rebate. I don't know.
Wish we can get more money, honestly.
Yeah.
A couple of thousand these days, it doesn't go very far, really.
And it is,
One window.
everyone knows it's more expensive to maintain a historic home. And, we want them to do it right. And we want them to come in and get the advice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we can definitely, at another meeting that is probably less busy, try to brainstorm some incentives and kind of look at what we can do and what's easily achievable. So for instance, this year we do have money for workshops and things like that. We did a window workshop last year that I would probably say was a soft launch, a dry run, to make sure it ran smooth. I learned a lot trying to put that on. So we do have the ability to see if Chris would do another workshop for us. There's other things, like maybe there are other technical aspects of a home that people need help on. We focus on windows a lot because those seem to be the biggest issue that I hear about. But perhaps there are other workshops we could put on as well that I'm just not thinking of. So kind of as we're moving through this process, given that some thought, send any ideas you have to me and I can kind of kick them around and see what I can do.
I'm actually looking forward to the focus groups. I think, some of what we're hearing is about us being nebulous and people are only going by probably sort of the way we've been reported upon. And that word of mouth that doesn't always tell the whole story, as you indicated. And there was even the comment that they want to see these faces. Who are these people making the decisions? So I think it will be good for us some of us to step in on those focus groups so they can see who it is and we can sort of explain and get some feedback. I think that's important. I've shared it before. I have, in my workplace as a supplier, I've been told, oh yeah, that Historic Commission in Albany held this project up. I go, oh really? Because this never came before us. I'm the chair.
Well, and the thing is that for most people, that's their only time in their life, really, that they're coming in and want to do something. You don't see a lot of repeat customers, so.
Yeah, some things jump out at me. I think it tells a pretty clear story. The thing that occurred over and over is people said, well, it's lack of maintenance and it's properties that are deteriorating. And then the other side of it is that there's a sense out there that if you come in to do something really big, and it's sort of human nature. If someone comes in, they clearly don't have a lot of money, they're doing a little thing, we don't bother them too much. But sometimes it feels like you want to do a big project, you want to improve the community, and we just dogpile on them. Oh, we want this, we want that. And I think that's the sense out there. And what it reflects is that bottom line, that historic preservation is very expensive. And the average person maybe lets their house run down because they don't have the money. Then someone steps in with a lot of money and they're used to sort of getting their way or doing something, and they feel like they get sent through the meat grinder. So it's not unusual, and it's the same thing we face. We have these buildings all over that are falling apart, and you need to encourage someone to come in. I mean, states and city, we're not going to go out there. You're not going to go out there. People that come before us are the people that are putting their money on the line. And I think sometimes we lose sight of that without those people, we see deterioration. So you might be fighting for something you think is really good, and yet the effect is that nothing gets done and things deteriorate and things fall apart. So it's a sort of Damocles. I find myself on one side and on the other. I want it to be done right, but I also appreciate that if I'm too strict, maybe nothing gets done at all. Maybe the people with the money just decide to take it somewhere else. And so I thought that this was really interesting. I think if you look at it that way, you'll read a lot in those tea leaves. And also, I think having people come in and talking, and us being able to talk to them, is as important as them being able to talk to us. But I thought that was really good. Thank you, David. Thank you, Alyssa.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate that.
All right. If we're going to put a period on that, then business from the commission.
Just a reminder, next Wednesday night, Native American history. Oh, shoot. I have flyers over there. Sent out some by email. Hopefully we'll get a big turnout. I've been telling everyone my watercolor class, and so maybe we'll get some folks that we don't normally see, but I'm excited about it. 6 o'clock next Wednesday at the Albany Library, the Native American History of the Albany area. Dr. David Lewis, he'll have books there, and we're going to bring our book and try to get him to sign it. So then we'll have it. So
You know how long it'll take?
I would guess it's an hour. I think it's probably a standard talk that he would give, So I would guess an hour, 6 to 7.
I'm halfway through the book and it's good reading.
Excellent.
Yep.
Yep. We have sent it. I've had Matt Harrington post it on the city's social medias. That's how I get my word out. I ask him to do that for me. He designed the really great flyer. I had another version that was all right, but he made it really pretty. So it's out that way. Friends of Historic Albany said they were going to put out a social media blast for it. Albany Downtown Association might be doing something. I sent it off. Albany Visitors Association's putting it on their calendar. Library's got it on their calendar. So yeah, we should have a good turnout. And then there was some engagement on the city's social media. So yeah, I think things will be good. Yeah.
Very good. Rain? Bill? Kim? All right.
What about you, Chad?
Staff, no. Staff updates?
I don't have anything.
We kind of did that.
I had something and it ran away.
Just quick, I just want to give a quick shout out to my great uncle, Craig Hinkhouse. He passed away today at the age of 79 from complications due to colon cancer. He was born here in Albany in 1945. His sister is my grandma. His parents, so my great-grandparents, his mom came from Bogue, Kansas, which back in 1940 had a population of 157 and currently has a population of 152. And his father, so my great-grandfather, came from Palco, Kansas, which back in 1940 had a population of 208, and currently has a population of 276. So, and I just want to give him a quick shout out.
Okay, I did remember my comment. Caitlin, could you pull up the chat? Joel messaged something while we were in the middle of the survey. Not showing up. Okay, so what I think I caught is that July 27th, you can come down and see the window in the Cumberland Church that we're funding. Yes, that should be the historic home tour. I also encourage everybody to do that. In years past, they've done the trolley. I assume they're still doing the trolley. It's great. I did it last year. It was sweltering hot, but it was lovely. So yes, Joel just wanted to make sure everybody was aware that you could come down and see the window that we're funding.
Very good. Well, with that, I will close this meeting at 7:55.